All right, welcome everyone to episode number 9 of the Untap podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Jonny Esports, joined as always by JT. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day down here in the Jankyard.
Yeah, awesome. Well, folks, let's just get straight into it. We have 3 topics on the day, as we always do. We're going to start the day with a game, as we always do, where I'm going to challenge JT here to a game I'm going to call one of these is not like the other. And in this game, I'll name 3 cards. One of them will be different for some reason by some theme, and it's actually to be Time Spiral Remastered theme. So we'll get into that. And then we'll talk about a few decks we've been playing this week, of course. And then we'll go into number 3. We'll talk about Time Spiral Remastered and kind of what we're excited about and all of that. And a little bit of a concern I actually have about Time Spiral Remastered, as well as JT has a PSA for everyone. So we'll also get into that too as well. So without further ado, let's get into this game. So, JT, this was designed, the game today of what doesn't belong, or one of these things is not like the other, whatever I'm calling this game.
I like it. It's the game with many names.
It's the game with many names. Is basically, this is a test to see how well you've been doing your Time Spiral Remastered homework. I'm going to name 3 cards here. 2 of them are getting the time-shifted treatment in the new Time Spiral Remastered set. One of them I just threw in there to try to see if you recognize what's not in there.
Okay, so when you say time-shifted, you mean they're getting different borders?
Yeah, they're getting the old border. They're one of the reprints coming up in Time Spiral Remaster are getting the border, the new old border. They're getting new for the card, old for the game.
Gotcha.
I
follow.
All right. Okay, so we're going to start with Jonny Esports staple, Joyra Weatherlight Captain. It's 2 colorless, a blue and a red for a legendary creature, human artificer. 3/3, whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. Oh, by the way, these are all commanders. That's the other theme, I guess. So there's one.
Okay.
Card number 2 is Yawgmoth Thrawn Physician. 2 generic, 2 black for a 2/4, legendary creature, human cleric. Protection from humans, pay 1 life. You can sacrifice another creature to put a -1/-1 counter on top of 1 target creature and draw a card. You can also play 2 black, discard a card to proliferate. And then card number 3, the third of our commander staples here, Feather the Redeemed, red, 2 white for a 3/4 legendary creature angel. It's flying, and whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets a creature you control, exile that card instead of putting it into your graveyard as it resolves. If you do, return it to your hand at the beginning of the next end step. So, of the 3 cards I mentioned, which one does not belong?
So which one is not getting the fancy?
Not getting the fancy.
All right, so here's where we let the folks behind the curtain. JT didn't do much homework on this the last few days. I've not followed very closely, but that being said, I have seen a few things online. So I know Yawgmoth is getting the new border treatment. I've seen that, so we can take him off.
All right.
Now we've got 2 colors staples. One is a Jonny Esports special. One is another special for other members of our community who are big fans of Feather.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say I think Feather's the one not getting the treatment.
All right. And the answer is Joyra is the one not getting the treatment. And I'm so sad. I was waiting for it. I wanted it so badly to have this old border. The original Joyra is in the set, just like the normal set, not getting any sort of special treatment because it was from Time Spiral. But the Joyra that's kind of like the commander staple Joyra is not gonna be in here, and I would have loved it because I would have loved to try to find myself a foil one of them, and it would have been cool. But oh well, it was not today.
Now, are we talking the Joyra? Now I'm admittedly I'm a little confused here. Are we talking the Joyra from Dominaria or the original Joyra?
Yeah, so the Joyra from Dominaria, which is the one I described, is not going to be in the set. But the original Joyra card is actually in the set.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were hoping to get the Weatherlight
Yeah, I was hoping to get the Weatherlight Captain because it's my command. It's one of my commanders, and I like playing it a lot. And it's kind of degenerate, not gonna lie, but it's fun. So
that yeah, can confirm that card is bonkers.
it's pretty nuts. All right, that was the game for the week. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you were playing from home, let me know if you got it. In the comments below. You technically could have cheated and you could lie, but why would you do that? You earn nothing for cheating. So let me know if you got it. And if you have any game ideas for us to start the show off with, feel free to let us know that too as well. But let's get into our next topic, the Brewer Talk. JT, what have you been playing this week?
So this deck is one that I've been playing for a while, but I've actually kind of tucked it away for a little while, and I just pulled it out again this week. And this is a deck I call Musical Ride because essentially it's Horsies and Lifelink.
Nice.
The whole thing is it's a life gain deck that features Crested Sunmare. And
nice.
I love Crested Sunmare when it came out in Amonkhet. It's just an awesome card. If you're not familiar with the horse and how dare you. 3, 2 white, it's a 5/5 creature horse. Other horses you control have indestructible. And at the beginning of each end step, if you gain life this turn, create a 5/5 white horse creature token.
Mm-hmm.
So you get that in there. You get in 4 Soul Wardens, 4 Diamond Mares, so that anytime you cast a white spell, you're going to gain life that can trigger the Sunmare. Plus, those Diamond Mares will become indestructible if you have a Crested Sunmare down. It's also got, I've got 1 Authority of the Councils. I got 4 All Seed of Life's Bounty, 4 Johnny's Pride Mate, 3 Daxos, 4 Castouts, 2 Settles, a Wrath of God for removal, and 1 Angel of Destiny for the Shiggles. That's a fun card to try to just end the game, but I've played games where I've gone like 10, 12 horses across.
Nice.
Okay, I'm just swinging in with all these 5/5s. So it's a fun deck. I like life gain, but I like it especially when I've got the horses going. And it's worked out well for me for the most part, although it did contribute to a game that gave me massive frustrations that we'll be talking about during my PSA.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a fun deck, and I'll share the deck list with Johnny so that it can be shared with the video. But yeah, it's a fun deck. I like life gain. I like horses.
Yeah.
How can you go wrong with that?
Yeah, definitely. That definitely is one of those decks like you get the engine going, it just kind of runs away with it. So
yeah, if you can't deal with the Soul Warden and the horse, yeah, you're in trouble.
All right. So what I've been playing lately is last week I kind of like went into a little bit of like, hey, this is a good budget deck for people to try, and I thought like I would introduce another deck that I made that is also a good budget deck to kind of try, because while there definitely is a ton of rare versions of this, you could certainly play this without any rares in your main deck. Maybe you spend 1 on a Luris because you could play Luris in this deck, which is what I am doing. And basically, in Historic, playing blue-black rogues, and its plan isn't the mill you out plan. It's that's sort of a B plan that's normally there because you do have all those synergies with these rogues to do that. But mostly this deck is focused around Curious Obsession and just out tempoing your opponent in, even though it's blue-black, in kind of a blue-red kind of way. But it is certainly it feels more like an Izzet deck to me. So this deck's featuring 4 Curious Obsessions and 2 Curiosities as kind of just more redundancy on Curious Obsessions, just so you have a couple extra copies there. And then you just have a bunch of 1-drop flying/unblockable creatures here that are all rogues. Fairy Miscreant, Merfolk Windrobber, Slitherblade. They all get in there.
Slitherblade.
Yeah. Just it can't be blocked, period. It's better than flying. Flyers can't block it. It's incredible. So in that too, you have your like pseudo Lord and Uno's Blackguard, which is only an uncommon, so easy to kind of build yourself up in there. And Soaring Thought Thief as well in the 2-drop slot. That makes this whole deck tick. And again, since this entire deck is under 3 CMC, you can play Luris of the Dream Den as your companion as kind of a free roll in there. But if you don't want to use any rares, it's not even as super necessary. continuing the if you don't want to use any rares theme, there is 4 Thought Seizes in this deck. Not completely necessary if you don't want them, but at the same time, you probably should just spend some of your wild cards on Thought Seizes, in my opinion. It's super worth it. Blood Chief's Thirst sits in here for the removal package, as well as Lofty Denial and Drown in the Luck. So there's your removal package in this deck. And yeah, you're kind of just beating away and just out card advantage your opponent. Lofty Denial, of course, because you have so many flyers, it's easy to kind of just counter anything that would kind of really mess with your board here. Yeah, it's fun. Again, my mana base runs rares, but if you don't have them, you could just kind of run a budget mana base and you just have a kind of a full budget deck. And the meat of this deck is very, very strong and aggressive too, especially like if you got a quest for like blue or black cards, mostly blue because it's mostly blue cards. It's could kind of run them through and you can still have some fun with that. So yeah, just throwing another budget deck out there for you folks in case you were just trying to try something a little different.
So apart from the Thought Seizes and the Lurrus, and of course change the mana base, you could pretty much run this as a Historic Artisan deck, eh?
Oh yeah. This could certainly be a Historic Artisan deck if you didn't have the rares in there, or a Gentry deck if say you went down a Thought Seize and you just had like the 1 Lurrus and then 3 Thought Seizes or whatever. That could be your 4 rares that you're allowed in Gentry.
Gentry, they're all 1-ofs. You can only have 1 Thought.
Oh, right. You can only have, they're only 1-ofs. Scratch that. I'm dumb. I'm going to cut this from the podcast. Never mind. I'm going to leave it in so you all know I'm dumb. But
yeah, but no, point made. And by the way, yeah, if you want to know more about Gentry, check us out on Jankyard or check out Gentry online. But yeah, that sounds like a really neat deck. I think that's I like that.
Yeah,
it's
man,
simple and makes good use of your wild cards.
Exactly. It's like mostly like just like kind of an adjustment of the mono blue deck that was standard legal a while ago when Curious Obsession was in the format and that play mono blue. But just playing some black, the black splash I feel like is worth it just for the really, really good removal and Drown in the Lock being super, super synergistic with decks, and of course Uno's Blackguard being basically like your lord, right?
So beating.
Yeah, it's real good. It's real good, and this deck's fun. It's fun. It's quick, and again, if you like those tempo-y plays, the kind of style that I like playing the most, again, it feels like an Izzet deck, even though it's blue black. Trust me, I tried to make this deck work Izzet. It just works better with the black cards.
So it's kind of an Izzet deck.
Kind of an Izzet deck,
disguised as a Dimir deck. Gotcha.
Pretty much. But yeah, that'll be the brewer talk for the day. We'll see next week. Maybe next week I'll stop showing off budget decks. But at the same time, it's really easy to show off budget decks because once you kind of like blow through a bunch of wild cards, it's hard to keep showing decks that are like 16 rares and stuff because I can't make those all the time. But especially trying to come up with new decks every week, it's easier to just show off a budget deck, and hopefully that actually is helpful to people. And then maybe even showing off their upgrade pass if you want to keep playing it further along is relevant too.
Well, and also 1-of decks are also nice.
Yeah, go for
it. They're also nice. So I mean, maybe next week I'll talk about some Gladiator decks, and we'll talk about Gladiator.
Yeah,
which people may not be familiar with as a format, but we'll get into that next week.
Yeah, especially with the Jankyard League this week is Gladiator, so I got to put together a Gladiator deck. So I'll talk about whatever deck I end up playing in your Jankyard League, by the way. So next week, and that'll be good.
Yeah. I've got to put together a new Gladiator deck too, but I've got a few. So it's for those that don't know, it's a 100-card singleton on Arena, and it's a lot of fun, and we'll get into it next week.
For sure. All right, okay, let's get into what I've been super excited about and kind of been talking nonstop to anyone else about Magic stuff. Is Time Spiral Remastered? Is it good? Is it bad? They haven't had a full just reprint deck since 10th edition, so since 2007. There hasn't been a set that is purely reprints, like no new cards whatsoever, and how people feel about that. And I guess people like me who have, essentially been around Magic for 20 years. Like I haven't been playing 20 years straight, but on and off basically for 20 years to get back into Time Spiral and here and get all these reprints, especially during kind of an era where I wasn't playing, getting a bunch of like those time shifted cards that are getting reprinted because they're getting kind of hard to get. I'm loving everything I've been seeing about this set. So what's been your kind of first impressions, JT?
Well, I mean, admittedly, like I said, I hadn't seen a lot until recently, and I also just, as we've been talking, I've just been scrolling through. It looks cool. I think the one thing that jumps out at me is, and I like cool looking stuff, is the ones that they're shifting towards the old borders.
Yeah, that
I
stuff's
think that,
cool.
yeah, it is really cool. I mean, some of these the borders are take you back to the first 5 years, so to see stuff like Arcades is one of my favorites.
Hmm.
In that old school gold border or feather, they look very different,
Hmm.
and so I think that's really cool. And it's like I look at that and go, I want that. I want that a copy of that card.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that's a smart move on their part. But also there are a lot of powerful cards that could definitely use a reprint. You know, Chalice, Cranial Plating,
Hmm.
and stuff. Some of my favorites like Panharmonicon. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm looking through as I'm actually surprised some of the things that got reprinted,
Hmm.
and I'm glad. I'm glad they're giving some new stuff or giving some old stuff either a new look or just bringing them in. There's also a number of slivers here, so I think
Hmm.
the playing this in a limited format, it's going to be really interesting, especially if you could build a sliver deck because slivers can be crazy powerful.
Yeah, and the big kind of reprint too with Sliver Legion in there. That card's been $100 at certain points, and like, and to be fair, it's like it's sort of a janky card. Like it's a Wooburg card to give all Sliver creatures +1/+1 for each other Sliver on the battlefield, which is great. And is a commander kind of Sliver staple, but it was $100 not because like it was this super crazy card that's just like awesome. It clearly only belongs in one deck and one commander deck, and now they're finally going to be able to reprint this, and you can see this card probably drop to like $50. I think right now it's pre-ordering at 60 at the time of this recording. So it's cool to see them do that. Get stuff like a Chroma's Memorial out there. That card has been kind of expensive in the past, and these cards that are like really just expensive because of scarcity, not even because they're like super crazy, but they fit into like certain commander decks and people want to get them, and it's really cool. Along with that too is that like this is one of those products, and WotC has been criticized for a long time of making products that are not for everyone, right? Like this targets only commander players, or this targets people who are just rich. This targets whatever standard players, whereas this has literally something for every type of player, which is really cool. Like even the legacy players who like probably get ignored a lot, and by probably I mean they do. They gotta get ignored
Yes.
by WotC a lot, but getting stuff in here like Ponder in here, just that Ponder reprint to be there for the legacy players. True Name Nemesis, also commander card, but like often played in legacy, is just like these cards where they're playing with all Ord border cards, but then they have these cards here and there, cheeky getting in there to go in there for a lot of infant combos that are available in that format. Like you get playing with the old border, so you actually old border your entire deck if you really wanted to in that format, which is pretty exciting. And of course in Commander 2 as well. So like there's something here for everyone, and it's really fun.
I, yeah, I would agree. There's something here for everyone, but what does worry me is I'm already seeing a starting price here in Canada of $8 a pack,
Yeah.
and that's not for everyone. And
Mhm.
that's, I mean, it's not like a collector booster. It's $30 a pack,
Mhm.
but it's not just a regular pack. So there is there's a fine line here. I guess
Yeah,
is
the thing that
my concern.
is kind of and I touched on it during our intro of what I wanted to mention of like kind of the one concern I had about it is that just based on this being a limited run, that from what I can tell from everything I've been able to Google is that that's it. They're not reprinting this. They're just like we printed what we printed and setting them out. They're selling out in stores. I know all our LGSs here, even cranking up the prices, still are selling out of it. Because basically, this could have been a set that could have been released at just a standard set price, like so, not even like a master set price. This could have been a set that could have been just like regular set price packs, but they've had to crank it because of a demand and b supply, right? There's low supply and high demand, so like places have been cranking up the price for this basically because well they're businesses, like they're
And they
gonna do
can,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, right, they're like that's like all the power to them, to be completely honest. So that's the only thing that does kind of suck, because I'm a person that sees this, and I've been talking to my friends, and I'm talking to you how I'm gonna make a cube out of this for a couple of reasons. Time Spiral Remastered the original Time Spiral is the set that really got me into Magic. Because again, like I mentioned before, I started playing Magic like 20 years ago, but just that was kind of like, oh, we have Magic cards, we're playing them, and that was just like very like whatever. Time Spiral was the set that really got me into Magic, really got me into drafting, and unfortunately, the timing of this releasing now means we can't actually draft this in person with all of our friends at this point in time. So I'm planning, like, I'm gonna make a cube of this, and then when we could now then actually draft it. But I have a bit of a concern that I might not be able to get all the cards I need because of scarcity, or I might be priced out of some of the cards or something like that. And I have a little bit of anxiety. I've pre-ordered one box, so I'm at least gonna get one box worth of stuff, and then I'll just kind of try to get what I don't have after that to make a set cube out of Time Spiral Remastered here. But if I can't get them all right away, are all these prices gonna just like skyrocket through the roof in a little bit because of scarcity automatically? Or will Wizards decide, oh, maybe we should do another print run of this? Or do they want to have this kind of scarcity of products so that the next time they do a remastered set, everyone knows, oh, we need to pre-order all of it right away, or else we won't be able to get it? And so that's kind of a thing that I'm a little worried about.
Yeah, and I would agree. I understand why they're doing it, and from a business sense, it drives that hype and it drives the demand for sure. But for the average player, it makes it a little inaccessible. Still, I mean, we're still going to buy them, still buy some packs, but it does make it a bit harder because it is going to be a little more expensive.
Yeah, which is a tough pill to swallow a little bit, because again, this could have been a set if they just wanted to print double of whatever they printed, whatever the actual number is, that like maybe there would be that, but then maybe they'd be stuck with too many of them, right? They're just trying to make sure they can sell out what they can sell out. They have their projection for it, and if they're going to hit it, and then move on to the next thing, which is a little bit unfortunate, because moving on to the next thing is like Strixhaven's a month away, so I guess they're trying to make sure, hey, don't spend all your money on Time Spiral Remastered, because you still need to spend money on Strixhaven coming up, so we constantly have your cash.
Yeah, and this is my thing where I think they've just got too much coming out at us too fast.
Yeah, I know lots of people are like, oh, I could skip this set because it's just reprints anyway. You could pick up some of the things you want, which is probably the way you should actually do it. Just pick up the singles you want right now, especially if you want any of those old border stuff going on. It's just like, I've never built the cube before, and this seems like I've always wanted to. This seems like a great opportunity to do it on this set that is really, really cool and has a kind of a special place in my heart with the original Time Spiral. So it's like, but man, it's a hard set for me to do this with, maybe. So hopefully things work out.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's I'm looking at it and looking at maybe just getting 6 packs and doing a sealed. There is a website out there that's doing an event where they're hosting a sealed and you can play on Spell Table, and I might do that because that looks like fun. I love sealed, and this looks like a fun set. But it was what we're looking at, $250+ Canadian per box. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm kind of one that, like, I would say I never buy boxes, but of course I got a set of the set boosters for Kaldheim for but like before that, I was never one to buy boxes. But this time I splurged for one, and we'll see. I almost splurged for two. I was very close to splurging for two, but that just wasn't realistic in my budget. But I look forward to it. All that negativity kind of aside, that maybe that's looming about this. Hopefully things work out. We'll tune in about a month from now. We'll see, like, hey, I got all my cards and everything's fine. Or I'll be like, man, I really freaking can't get Brian Elemental. That's a bad choice of card. Damnation.
There we go.
I couldn't get a Damnation from this set. And there's also the other part of me that goes, well, I could just proxy it with, like, I did air quotes, but no one could see me doing air quotes, so I don't know why I did that. Anyway, I could proxy it with just like another printing of the same card, but obviously, just for the aesthetic, I want them all to be from this one set. So hopefully it doesn't get hard to get everything I need at reasonable prices. but we'll see. This will be an adventure that I'll update you all on as I keep going.
Yeah, it sounds like fun. I look forward to hearing how it goes.
Yeah, and that'll be a week. That adventure starts a week from now. That set releases on the 15th officially, right? So from a week from now, we'll talk about that. And all right, well, that will conclude kind of this week's conversation.
However,
wait, your PSA. Hold on. Before we conclude, we have a very important PSA for everybody.
Here's my PSA, folks. It's an important public service announcement. Don't play decks without a win con. Okay, I'm going to go on a slight rant. I'm actually a little better than I was 24 hours ago when I played against this. So I played an arena best of one match in Historic. I was playing my mono white life gain horses deck that we just talked about earlier. And I played a 56-minute match against my opponent, who had, from what I could see, no discernible win condition. And thankfully I've got one of these assistants that tracks what you do when you play. So it has the list of every card I saw. I saw 57 of his 60 cards. The reason he won is because I I cycled twice. So I decked before he did. He had 2 cards left in his library when I decked out.
Oh my goodness.
And I counted 25 board wipes. I'm not kidding. 4 Crush the Weak, 4 Phyrexian Scriptures, 3 Storm's Wrath, 2 Extinction Events, 4 Flame Sweeps, 3 Cry of the Carnarium, 4 Blood on the Snow, and 1 Widespread Brutality, which is the one that amasses for 2. So that's the only thing that is anything creature-like, was that 1 Widespread Brutality, which I promptly killed that thing. The only other thing I could say might have been an attempt at a win con is Banefire. But even then, you would need 21 lands to kill somebody because you're not doing any damage to them. And the rest of the stuff in this deck was 4 Fountain of Renewal, so he was constantly gaining 4 life.
Oh my goodness.
And 2 Blood Suns, so that I couldn't do anything with my Castle Ardenvale or my Adanto the Last Fort. This was madness. I mean, I get it. You want to make a deck because you just, you sit back and you go, you know what? Today I feel like being a dick. I get it. But please, play 1 win con. That's all I ask. That's so my PSA.
Funny. It's kind of funny because there was a point in time in my life where I was a little bit addicted to being that jerk that made no win con decks. And that was during my Hearthstone days. And my Hearthstone days didn't last very long. But basically, like when Hearthstone first came out, I was just like, I don't know what I'm playing this. I'm just going to play Priest Control, and there's no win con in this deck. And people just scoop early. So I was like, oh, that's my win con. You're going to scoop.
Yeah. If your win con is your opponent quitting out of frustration, that's not a win con. Milling, like making me mill by just drawing. We played 51 turns. That's not a win con. A mill is a win con, but milling means you accelerate your opponent putting their cards into their graveyard.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, not here. Okay, yeah. I'm done.
That's fair. That's fair. And maybe if we make this a regular segment, because honestly, I had fun listening to you rant. Maybe the JT PSA should be a regular segment on the podcast where you just go off and I just laugh because I enjoy it.
Brought to you by your local salt company.
For sure. The Salt Miners Union, as we used to call it. That will be that for the day. JT, would you like to plug any of the things you are doing before we get out of here?
Yes, check us out. The Jankyard on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/JankyardMTG. We have 2 to 3 streams a week, including tournaments. And you can also check us out at patreon.com/JankyardMTG.
Yeah, and the one thing I will show is that this podcast is kind of brought to you by retouchmedia.com, which is my marketing / graphic design / video editing website service thing. And actually, some people have actually reached out to me after I plugged it on here, so that's kind of cool. Thanks for that. Basically, if you're enjoying kind of watching this podcast here on YouTube, this is edited by me and the graphics are all done by me here. So that's the kind of thing that if you're doing your own podcast or doing like basically anything that requires any sort of editing or graphics, feel free to reach out to me there. Once again, that's retouchmedia.com. Feel free to check that out, as well as Meta Break Apparel, which is on the Retouch Media website as well, which is kind of like the apparel line I have out there that helps support the different endeavors I'm doing. So feel free to check that out. And that will be that, folks. We'll be back next week, hopefully on the actual Sunday. But thank you for checking out this special Tuesday episode of the Untap podcast. That will be it for us today. We'll see you next time. Goodbye, folks.